Scott, could you share the agenda? Nice. I see everyone's
Does
here.
that link work?
Yeah, that worked.
What's that? You guys see my name?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hey, great to see so many faces here. So, Scott, are you wanting to lead this meeting today, or would you rather I do it? Or
I can lead it. But if anybody else wants to, that's cool too. Let me
no,
go
go
ahead
for
and
it.
get my camera
You've put
going.
together this agenda. So, for those of you who weren't here last week or have not seen around the Discord, Scott is our new community ambassador here in the server. Not that he's new, certainly, I'm sure you've seen him around for quite a while now, helping out. But yeah, he's doing so in a more official capacity now. And yeah, it's going to take this meeting for everyone.
Right. That'll push the talk button. I'll go ahead and open mic. At the top of the agenda, we've added Mystic Marks to Catalyst. This is Mark. He has. Tell us about yourself, Mark.
Oh, hi, I'm an engineering and architectural designer by trade. I've been computing since 1986 as a pastime hobby, we'll call it. And I'm really big into the AI revolution, and this last 2 years I've kind of been kicking into it, picking back up my coding and dusting off the old rust bucket books, you might say. And I definitely am into theoretical crafting and constructs, so prompting agency is a big deal. And now we have two that are merging. We have agents, which everybody's familiar with, have behavioral traits. We have personas, which are character traits and dispositions to give them a personality. And the merger, that's now agent personas, which is behavioral constructs that have a personality. And that is now what we're at.
All right.
Welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah. All right. Announcements. Craig, you told us that soon we're gonna have AutoGPT bot in the Discord.
Yeah. I don't know if Craig's mic's working, but yeah, soon to be available in the server. We'll be providing a much easier way to use AutoGPT. Simply interfacing to it through conversation right here in the Discord server. So we will be looking for, especially in like the first kind of weeks, as we flesh out the inevitable bugs that we run into, we'll definitely be looking for some beta testers, and we'll be sharing shortly what the best way to get involved with that will be. So stay tuned. There's some very exciting things to come.
All right. And I know that so moving on uh, to agenda review, I know Zed had a bunch of questions that he wanted to ask, so we decided why not add them to the agenda and we can ask them here. So Zed wants to know like what what is our goal, and I kind of want what's our are we trying to post daily with Twitter? Are we trying to just post important updates? I know in the meeting notes last time there was a mention of daily posts. Is that something that we want to ramp up to, or are we keeping it?
Hang on, that, 1 second. Sorry to interrupt you, Scott, but that brings to mind: is anybody taking notes?
Um,
Again, the whole thing
Cool. Yeah, so Twitter. I think my opinion on this right now is that I want to focus the 90% of our community efforts internally on this Discord. I don't want to, focus all of our effort trying to bring people in here. I think we have loads of really passionate people in here right now, and until I think we've provided you guys with the best experience, I don't want to really focus on advertising outside of here too much. And anything that could be discussed on Twitter, I'd rather discuss in here, really. That's what I've been doing much more recently. That said, the caveat is, I think when we have exciting things to share, I think Twitter is the right place to do that, to kind of spur on that kind of global discussion. But I certainly don't want to do daily posts on Twitter. I don't think that's really right for us or what really anyone's interested in right now.
Well, I mean, Torin, that's great for the 50,000 people we have in this Discord. I'm curious, how many of the 50K are actually active. But I mean, who says we can't reach 500K if we, start blasting social medias? Like, what is the reason to not do both?
Oh, may I just add something? Sorry, I
yeah.
certainly do not think that AutoGPT main X account should start posting daily. Absolutely not. It is a company email. At best, a couple of, well, up half a dozen times a month, at a minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the goal here is to provide value with every post that we'd make. I'm not looking to kind of like chill and get loads of and like get the most people as possible. I want to just provide value to people. So if I think we have something of value to share that's news to the world, then I would gladly share it. But I'm not really here looking to like maximize numbers.
So one of our targets is to drive people towards our Discord, or no? Would you say that?
Yes, I would say that, but not like, and at the expense of our integrity. That's very, very important. I'm not, if we have interesting things to share, we have a great demo or something, new release, then sure, there's definitely Twitter's a place for that, and we do use it for that.
Absolutely. Integrity is key.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, if only I could spell it. There.
Great question. Thank you.
Okay. So the next thing is Zed is interested in doing some content creation, and I think this is great. I'd love to collaborate with him on some stuff. More demos, more tutorials, more just info on how the prompting works, how plugins work, just anything like that.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it just before with puts and Swift. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, specifically around the forge, and I think that's where a lot of the documentation is going to need to be. Not necessarily documentation, but like also a lot of the content creation, in my opinion.
Yeah, sounds good. I think tutorials and documentation is absolutely vital and often neglected. Demos and general content creation, I think, if would be amazing, especially if we have, I don't know, it focuses on things that people will find interesting.
Yeah, and sprucing up our YouTube channel, putting some, nice tutorials, polished videos and stuff, which I'm happy to help.
All right, I like the idea, and I'll get with you, Zed, on some ideas, and we can collaborate.
I'm just seeing the chat actually. It's great to have everyone inputting here. I'll make sure to keep that open. So thank you everyone for your input. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've actually been adding screenshots from that to the notes I'm taking.
Yeah, that's what made me check. Cool.
All right. Next, just up for discussion: AutoGPT Core plus Forge convergence. Um, where what are we gonna do with that? Are we like,
Yeah.
do we need to have like a smaller meet or like schedule a smaller meeting for some of the core devs to discuss
Actually, we just had that
the
meeting.
pros and cons? Oh, okay.
Zed Swift and I just talked about this for about 30 minutes. Because basically, what we settled on is that we want Forge to, well, one, be useful for anyone to start building an agent, and two, uh, we can only know that it's useful if we are using it ourselves, right? Dog fooding. Currently, Forge is very much standalone. We also have AutoGPT, and then within AutoGPT, there's also the core module, which is another layer of redundancy / overlap here and there. So basically, we're going to try to reduce that overlap and build the Forge into a um, a core library with components that are useful, that work together for agent applications, um, so that you don't have to implement all that stuff yourself. And the goal is to have functionality in the Forge, in modules, in components that we can then import into our agent. So that means we have to have less custom code in the agent application, which means more. Basically, we don't have to spread our development efforts across so much code because there's less duplication. Now, to get to that point, obviously a lot needs to happen. And so for starters, we're just going to port over a couple of components that are pretty well isolated from AutoGPT. Which components those are is TBD. I will come up with a short list sometime this week. And then Zed is going to pick that up and basically take charge of revamping and restructuring the Forge. So that in the end, like, we have an agent that imports from the Forge, but also that we have an example case of, look, it works, you can use it. And over time, it should develop into like a more comprehensive library of components plus a set of templates that also showcase what you can build with those components.
Well, we got to call the guy that runs the Forge and agency the Forge Master. Huh?
Yeah, we had Swifty's username at some point was the blacksmith.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
No, that sounds good. I think it's a much needed piece of work, and making it easier to iterate and build ideas quickly with AutoGPT is going to be super, super useful. Looking forward to it.
I just shared with you, Pugs, and hopefully that repo that I was mentioning in the call.
Sorry, what repo? Oh, you mean the... Never mind.
In our chat.
Okay, and Zed, you wanted to ask about OpenAI beta assistance.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if it's the right forum, and I also feel like I'm taking up the whole stage here with all my questions. But like, if anybody has others, please feel free.
Yeah.
Talk about what?
Absolutely.
So what I was thinking is, because I've been delving into the whole new assistant beta thing from OpenAI, and trying to see it. It feels like they've basically, I mean, I don't know if it's the right thing to say they copied AutoGPT, but it's very, very, very similar. Instead of tasks, they call it, threads. Instead of well, they have steps and runs and all that stuff. So, like, I mean, where it's all also relating to the first question, I think, in terms of the direction that we're going to go with AutoGPT. Like, what's the real value differentiator if, like, someone were to say, why should I use AutoGPT versus assistant from OpenAI. Money aside, open source aside, I'm saying from an actual like use case point of view for a company or something.
So you're saying for an enterprise user to build something with AutoGPT? Is this what I mean?
Anybody really, like if you don't if you're look, if you're bootstrapped and you can't afford to get an open API key, then that's cool. You're gonna go to Hugging Face anyways. But if you have an open AI key, like person like myself, like I mean, it's so easy and it solves most of the problems I think that AutoGPT does too.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on
I'd
what
say
you're
that
trying
there's no
to.
reason you can't have both, right? I mean, ultimately, you could still do the auto GPT in that deployment and still have the other one separately and still have it be the same thing.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to build, really. I mean, this agent's endpoint is essentially it does a bit of boilerplate code for you. So it does like context window management and context just tracking in general, storage, in one specific opinionated and also non-disclosed way. If that's what you want to quickly iterate something, then it's useful for that. But it's not really like you could build AutoGPT in it, and you can also build AutoGPT in something like LangChain, or you can build it in our own tooling. The benefit I would say versus sorry.
Like, what's the actual difference though? Because like you can run code in the assistant too. So like like what can it not do that AutoGPT can? Let me ask that. And I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to be a devil's
Yeah,
advocate.
no, it's a valid question. I think well, it provides a few things, like maybe three systems, the assistance endpoint in one specific way that's not customizable. So it's the same sort of thing when you talk about LangChain as well. Like it's pretty much the same thing. They also provide tools to do context window management and storage and such. They do it in a specific way. The reason that we don't use it is because we often find it to be out of date and just doesn't provide us the customization that we need to actually make a cutting edge system that is useful. If we rebuilt AutoGPT with the assistance endpoint, we would basically lose the ability to customize quite a lot of what we do, and we would just be stuck in one way. Interested to hear what you think about this, please. It's a valid question.
And just to be clear, I'm not suggesting we replace anything. I'm just saying, like, from a market point of view, like a market differentiation. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, like the reason in the past that we have stayed away from importing a lot of functionality versus building it ourselves was because of the experimentation um, characteristic of the project. Like it's an experimental project. It's on the front page, and we stick to that. We want to be the space for experimentation. Also have an AOB for that, and yes, currently there's probably, I would say, hosted services that are more useful than AutoGPT. However, they are, as far as I know, all of them are closed source, and there are other open source agents. Um, with different architectures, different highlights. Our goal is to be a space for experimentation, for finding new concepts, for trying them out, finding ways to improve the performance of agents, finding out how to build your own agent. Um, and we have this huge open source community, and we are currently working to kind of harness that. Harness to leverage the community to build something that is really cutting edge. Because if we can, it's the core team has to provide space for that. We are very aware of that, and we have a lot of to dos regarding that as well. Like that's why Scott and Bentley are here now. And our goal is to make that space, to make sure that everybody who has, innovative ideas and ideas that can push the project forward, can put that into the project and can see it being used and iterated on. without having to do everything yourself. So we're doing very different things while building something similar, right? We're focusing on empowering individual developers and experimentation, and not in the first place on the like polished user experience. Sure, it's a high priority, but it's not 80% of the project. Like it's also, I don't know. I'm rambling.
Yeah, exactly. I think you and Hunter's also touched on that there, sort of saying that this isn't API like LangChain. It's something that gives you the ability to build an agent, like the Forge as well. These are all different toolkits you can use to build an agent. I like to think that we provide, we're trying to provide the cutting edge here, and we're constantly changing what we offer to make sure it's the cutting edge. I don't think I wouldn't know to say which one is best, but it's a moving target. But yeah.
All right. So next, we want to talk about I guess the folder naming again. Do we have a plan for AutoGPT, AutoGPTs, AutoGPT, AutoGPT, like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, last week we had lots of crazy names being suggested, which is what's in that list, right? And since then, no one has contributed anything, and we haven't really worked on it at all. I mean, yeah, fair enough. We just need to continue that conversation. So, if you guys see that link to that channel, essentially, to recap, we wanted to find a name for autonomous agents, basically, like fully autonomous agents. We've been using the word AutoGPTs to this. We find that the word agents is unfortunately very commonly misused and doesn't really describe what we're building distinctly. And so, not just what we're building, but what other people are building in this space. They are fully autonomous agents or something like that. We've called them AutoGPTs, and so in our repo we have a folder of AutoGPTs. MetaGPT is one of them, for example. Yeah, if anyone has a better name for that, please tell us what it is. Cool.
All right, and just to circle back just a little bit, we kind of skipped over a little bit of the question. What's in store for AutoGPT in 2024? Like, what are we looking at?
Yeah, that's a very exciting question. So I wonder if probably won't have a meeting on the 26th, I'd imagine. So we've only got maybe 2 more of these meetings this year. So we're approaching 2024, and as we have just sort of briefly touched on, we are going to be launching a new way to interact with AutoGPT, especially a very easy way, especially if you've had trouble setting up, the open source project on Linux and all of this, then this will be a way for you to just instantly use AutoGPT publicly in the server, in a channel, kind of similar to how you use Midjourney. And so, yeah, we're hoping to kind of get a lot of feedback and see people use it, and sort of shorten the distance between the people who want to improve AutoGPT and the people who want to use it. If these people can kind of be in the same space, using and building, then I think we'll get a much better idea of like what the common pitfalls are. I sometimes talk to people and they describe a problem they had with AutoGPT that I've never heard before, and it's because most people don't share these problems. So shortening that gap, and then our main focus is improving utility. Really, I mean, the grand goal here is to democratize access to useful and powerful AI systems. I think that, we take a big picture approach here. AI could solve all of humanity's biggest problems, but it also could, in the hands of a few, exacerbate some terrible problems. Like, for example, financial inequality. I always pick on Amazon when I say this, but Amazon make billions and billions of dollars every year, but they also pay people billions and billions of dollars every year. So that's not so bad. But if they suddenly stop doing the latter, then you can imagine how dark the situation could get. So that's why it's important for this technology to be democratized and in the hands of the many. I think if we can build something with huge utility and make it publicly available, then we'll be entering an age of the individual like we've never seen before. Like anyone can start their own business and make their own way in the world with very limited resources. We've already started to see this happen. If you look at the last 10 years with just the internet and YouTube, if you look at Mr. Beast, for example, he has, every video now gets more views per video than the Super Bowl in America literally gets. Like, how insane is that? That's like one kid with, some friends and, a video editor, YouTube, and a camera. That's all he needs to do that. And obviously, so many people do that these days, not quite to that extent. And I think AI is going to, if we can make it publicly available, is going to usher in that, new age of the individual in a big way.
I love that. I mean, a little bit of the shadow, but we want sunshine. We want sunshine.
Yeah, that's what we're fighting for.
All right. Next, we want to talk about the community boost bot. What do we want to add to it? What do we want to do with it? What do we want to make it do? I think, personally, I think a bit of gamifying might might help us with a little bit of boosting things up. Not creating, not for the sake of just creating nonsense or um, but actually highlighting contributors and people that are doing good, that are contributing things and helping us make a difference.
Can we get a bit of context on the community boost bot, like what it is and what its objective is, for those who don't know?
Bentley.
Yeah, this is a super cool initiative. I've seen people do stuff like this before on, I'm not sure if it was like Ask Reddit or something like that, but on somewhere on Reddit where people, if they answer a question, then someone says thank you to them, they got like essentially XP points. I think that's a great way to encourage, positive contribution. So maybe something like that. Obviously, with large language models now, it can be way more advanced than it used to be back then.
Yeah, I know there's the Discord bot, the Me 6, which is like a jack of all trades for Discord bots, has like so much functionality. But one of the things they have is as people talk and engage in a Discord server, they don't really have a filter, or as far as I've used it, they don't have a filter. But essentially, like every time you send a message, you tick up a little bit of experience, and you hit levels, and it posts in a channel every time you hit a level. And so maybe if we could either leverage that Discord bot and see if they allow like filtering, like look for the word thank you, look for this, look for that. That could be like a really good jump off point for us. But if they don't allow that customization, maybe that could be just like our MVP is, essentially just using some Discord bot to scan for specific phrases or messages, and then just giving individuals experience for that. Yeah, I know the Discord Pi library. They have an event that on message, and it essentially just listens for. Yeah, exactly. So just look for some, very regularly used phrases that would be like, oh, that deems some experience, and we can kind of just tick people up that way.
Yeah, so do you guys think, what should we be rewarding in this community? I suppose that's really the root of the question, where we can then build from. I've kind of said we should reward
any activity for now, and we can refine it as we go. But just getting something out there to recognize people that are being active and then tweak it.
Yeah, but it's important to know what we reward. If we don't yeah, yeah. Has utility, because if our goal is make people active, then obviously the way to do that is just to spam as many messages as you can. So that's not what we want. We need to be clear on what our goal is. It's kind of like an alignment problem with our Discord bot. But yeah, answering hot problems with the help channel is a great place to start, and that could be very easy. So thank you for that.
Yeah, how do you do that though? How do you like track who? Yeah, that's the fun part.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem.
Let the new AutoGPT bot do it.
Might be a bit overkill. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
All right. Now, where do we go to? All right. Puts and I, well, Puts had an idea that he shared with me about maybe hosting an experiments folder in the repo. A place where we can take community ideas and community experiments and host them, let other people iterate on them, but maybe not the um in the direct like AutoGPT folder, but in a separate place where we could have different versions of different things that we're just trying out.
Uh-huh.
And it'd be a great way to highlight some interesting projects that come about through the community.
Yes. Like how I personally envisioned it was just a collection of Jupyter notebooks, where it's really easy to experiment and kind of tweak prompting strategies, or whatever you can think of that's useful for what we're trying to do. But like the fun thing of an experiments folder is that you can do whatever you want in there, because that's the whole point. So unless anyone really objects, I propose that the first person who has an idea just creates a pull request, creating that folder plus some contents, and we will see where it grows from there.
So I actually think we already have a repo that has some of those in them. that maybe or may not be private. I can't remember right now. But we had a team member a while ago named Benny, who was working on multi-agent systems back before all the other like big ones were announced,
Mhm.
With a mailbox passing system and Jupyter Notebooks, I believe. That may be a good place to start.
That's a
Is
great
just
point.
move that over.
Actually, that is a good point. Do we want to have this in a separate repo or no?
I think it should be in the main repo, right? We're all about public. It would just clutter
Yes.
the main repo is the only problem.
Yeah,
I
but
mean-
that's kind of how we'd be working.
Yeah, like as I, we have automated systems that cause more clutter than people pushing stuff to experimental folders.
So it would be cool if we could make a Jupyter Notebook wrapper for the Forge, basically, to where you can hook in the Forge and then you can run a Jupyter Notebook, which acts as a agent protocol agent. I don't know how possible it is, but that would allow us to throw them in our agents folder and use them. And we could just mark them with like EX dash or whatever and just don't run those in CI. What are y'all's thoughts?
I missed the first half of what you said. Sorry.
The premise was basically we could run the Jupyter notebooks as agent protocol forge or agent protocol agents, right?
Mm-mm.
Using the forge tools. Then we can just throw it in our regular agents folder and just mark them with like a tag, like .ex or something like that. I don't know. And then just not run those ones in CI. But I think that would also be pretty limiting.
What's the advantage of that?
You could swap any tool that uses our like agent protocol stuff
Mhm.
to use that, right? The only problem would be if we're trying to change the complete premise of how you interact with them, it'd be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But you can write Jupyter notebook plugins to handle stuff like setting up a server.
Huh. Okay. Just to be clear, I'm not just talking about agents, but also just components
Let's see.
in terms of experiments. If you can build me a Jupyter notebook that has a really good, that shows and demonstrates a very good strategy for, I don't know, chunking code files or building a knowledge graph of some kind of data, then that is a very useful and also educational experiment. That's fine as a standalone thing.
Okay, I see what you're going for here. One, those should not be in agents. Two, I think you're right, they should be in the main folder. Or like the main repo under just like experiments or something.
All right. Well, that's settled then.
All right.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Under short updates, do we have anything for ops?
Yes. The CI is unbroken in the main repo. So that took processing about 600 linting errors and fixing a whole bunch of tests. But the CI runs green again if you don't break anything, which means it's now a lot easier to review pull requests again.
All right. That actually sounds like a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I did lose some sleep over it, but I don't regret it.
All right. Anyone else have anything to add to ops?
I think everyone already has their emails set up and stuff like that, and their Notion access. If you don't, let Bentley know. Bentley.
Yeah, if you don't have no snacks.
There's an item there I'm seeing now that's been bugging me when I'm trying to go through my GitHub notifications. All the arena entering branches, that is like such spam. Is there a way?
Yeah, I've
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
All right, moving on to research. Does anybody have anything to add to research?
I've been playing around with Claude 2.1. Can somebody else take notes for this section while I speak? I've been playing around with Claude 2.1 and its system prompting. Overall, I think Claude may turn out to be a little bit more useful than OpenAI. It seems like every day OpenAI changes their prompt in a way that makes it more and more difficult to use. But Claude, while behind, isn't losing functionality in the same ways, right? I still think we should be considering open source models very heavily, of course. And I think Swifty's been doing some research into that. But the more I use it, the more I think people who've been trying to use it for what we're doing aren't using good prompting.
Interesting.
You have to prompt it in a very different way than OpenAI.
Mm.
But overall, I think it's fundamentally capable of doing what we need it to. And it is far more glad to write huge swaths of code.
Mm. So it raises the interesting point, what you're saying there, Nick, that to switch between models is relatively easy, but to actually effectively switch between models means changing our prompting. And so we really need a system to like hot swap prompting if we want to support multiple models in the future, which we probably do.
Yeah, for example, we've been working on an internal test for a couple different things, and everybody chose OpenAI, and I chose Anthropic to test, right? Because a bunch of different reasons, but mostly see their capabilities. I feel like mine was just as capable, but it took a lot longer to learn the different prompting techniques because OpenAI, like Hunter said, OpenAI has trained us into their methodology of prompting.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work on Anthropic, right? So the same, think like an expert, doesn't matter. But if you say, hey, reply in this format and use a think block, it'll do that and it'll think like an expert instead, right? Like, there's a wildly different thing. And I think a lot of us are trained to use OpenAI style when maybe we should pay attention to that. But yeah.
Maybe we could work on incorporating something like Open Router, which hosts both OpenAI and Anthropic models and a whole bunch of other models.
So I've looked at Open Router a lot. My understanding is that it's actually not that open, politely. And it's basically just using the name from OpenAI. You pay them to host models, which is cool, but I can't host the software myself, right? Like I pay them to do it, and that's not very open to me. I think what the premise behind that is exactly what we need to do, Scott, but I don't know if that specific tool is the right one. Does that make sense?
Well, the question is, sorry.
I apologize. You go, Torn.
I was just going to say that the question is, the difficult part is not really switching out the model, but it's switching out the prompting.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if we really. Sorry, I was just going to say I don't know if we really have a way of doing that right now. So that's what we need first. Not just creating the new prompts. That could be maybe automated, maybe a prompt translator or something someone can whip up. But actually building a system for hot swapping them.
I've already developed that stuff. I also have a lot of stuff that I haven't talked about with a bunch of you guys yet. But Bentley raised a good issue. The Mistral 7B is excellent. And in fact, the Mistral 7B Instruct is an uncensored model. Running that through GPT for all, I find its code output to be better than ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's what brought this up.
That's what brought this
is that a lot of the code output from Anthropic was just better.
Also, the GPT for All project is pretty well laid out, has all the needed features. It's fully open source. It would be very easy to integrate AutoGPT functionality, maybe even make it a switch where it's an automation switch and turn that interface into the autonomous system. And then you would have the benefit of loading any model, and they've already done that backbone work. Could even be a project merge.
I think this is a really complicated problem to solve, and I think that we collectively can focus our energies possibly on areas that would be more beneficial to the project by simply using libraries like Light LLM. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but frameworks that abstract all the different prompting systems and all the different components. There are several out there. Light LLM is what we're using in Forge. I think if we utilize something like that, it would help a lot with all these problems. Like yesterday, somebody popped in to the Discord wanting to use AutoGPT with Llama. So being able to just not be vendor locked, so to speak, to your LLM provider and choose anything under the sun. That is really a very hard thing, like you said, Nick, because of the way prompting changes, the way structures, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like if we could find a good open sourced underlying library for communicating with any LLM, that would kind of solve a lot of this.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be difficult, but overall, I think it's worth considering, and definitely share tools y'all find to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my thought too. I'm sure there are some great tools for this out there.
All right.
Okay.
Is there anything that anybody else wants to add? Okay, moving on to development. Does anybody have anything for development? What's
Yes. Look like my thoughts. Over the past couple of days, I have done a very big refactor to the configuration of the agent application. Basically, moving a whole bunch of configuration attributes into sub-config objects. Long story short, it should now be a lot easier to add configuration for like specific modules or specific components, and to move that around instead of passing around the entire monolithic config object. Also, pulling configuration or building the configuration from the environment variables is now handled by a bit of background magic and environment variable mappings that are defined on the fields themselves, rather than a big function that pulls everything from the environment and that does a dictionary mapping, which means it's a lot easier to maintain the configuration as well. I'm kind of hoping that we can port this, or at least part of this configuration stuff, into Forge, because it's being used in a lot of other modules as well now, and having a good hierarchical configuration structure can really help to get a project off the ground and grow it scalably. And now I am putting the finishing touches to an S3 storage backend for the agent, so it can store workspace contents in an S3 bucket instead of locally on disk, which is useful if you want to run it in the cloud, for example. And in the same direction, some other tweaks have been made to facilitate running it in a container in the cloud. The Docker build has been working again for I think a week or two. And then with S3 and structured logging, it's basically ready to, I mean, like aside from actually being capable, it's as an application, it's more or less ready to deploy to a cloud instance somewhere.
all right. For the sake of time, we're going to try to speed through some of the rest of this. Let's see, we answered what to do with Forge and Core. Mystic Mark's Catalyst, yes. Is there a method to be involved with the administrative and design forward movement of AutoGPT? Yes, that method is contact me. Also TBD, but yes, contact me.
Also, this meeting.
Yes, in this meeting, yes.
Yeah, like even just being in the chat.
Even just being in the server, for that matter.
All right.
So I don't know why I always talk over you, Torn. I'm sorry, man. But I was just
Sorry,
saying,
I
like,
didn't
yeah,
even-
Discord in general is like a great place.
We're all
Alright.
in like super different time zones, so it makes Discord
Yeah.
have a conniption whenever it tries to place a server for us to discuss stuff without having huge latency for somebody. And Torrent, I think, is
Yeah.
often on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I'm in Edinburgh, so. um,
All right, so let's see. What's happening while the agents entering the arena PRs? Those are stacking up a lot. Did we?
It would be great. Yeah, it'd be great if we could just automate the merging, because I feel like that's totally doable. But we'd have to be careful with that. Obviously, it could be like a bit of a security risk. So it's kind of something that's being pushed down the road repeatedly. But yeah, I see there are a lot. I mean, it's great. Loads of people want to be in the arena. Yeah, feel free.
When doing
Maybe
that,
we make a
when doing
separate
that,
repo for that, like an arena repo that can be imported as a sub repo.
yeah,
Yeah, I could do. It's not really the solution I'm looking for, but if we need to. What were you going to say, Nick? Maybe Nick's not
I was
anymore.
gonna say we could do something like only matching this regex can your PR get approved if when we go to that URL that has to be a GitHub link, there is new commits to the repo past ours.
Yeah. Yeah, new commits past ours is a good way of checking.
We run that
And that filters
sandbox
out properly.
and delete it, basically, the ones that don't, and just auto close them.
Yeah. That sounds like a great solution. I think 99% of them don't have any commits. Maybe also something to do about this would be to sort of tackle it at the source as well and have a look at whatever documentation or tutorial is leading people to do this and just make sure it's actually aligned with what we currently want. I'm not sure where people are getting the idea, but I love that people want to be in the arena, but yeah. Mm, okay.
Well, I can remove that now.
Yeah, let's take that offline and see, and maybe talk about updating it or something. Like, not, I don't mean take the article offline, I mean take the conversation offline.
Yeah, no, I can remove that bit of it easily,
Yeah.
which is kind of makes sense. The whole point was we wanted to encourage people to be part of the ecosystem, right? If they're building agents.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether we want people to be who's just tried it out to be part of our repo, or do we want them to have gone a bit further?
Yeah, I agree. The fact that it's like at the getting started thing is the wrong place for it.
Well, I have removed
That's
that
why
straight
we.
away now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's why we have so many empty things. Sorry, Scott. Back to you.
All right. I think the last bit is does anyone have any questions? Audience included.
Have we missed any questions?
Oh, I see
The
something
most
tweeting
likely
this
to
was the where are we with the Evo Ninja integration, Scott? I think you wanted to
Oh,
raise
right.
that, right?
Yes. Where are we with the Evo Ninja integration?
Who has the answer to this question? It's not me. I don't know, but I'll have to. Who is handling that? I think there's a channel on the server, or I don't know. Okay, not sure. That's something to hopefully next week is fully sorted. Someone said they sent me a PM about looking for people. Okay, cool. Yeah. So sorry, my Discord. I'm so bad with my Discord private messages. If I haven't replied to you, it's not out of malice. If you are looking for an official job, then the email address is in the chat right now. Yeah, please come and build the future of work with us. We're very small right now and not like aggressively hiring, but I'd love to hear why you think you're the right fit. Please do apply through that. Sorry, did I miss something there?
I feel like I may have missed something there.
I see. Yeah, cool. Sounds good. What's this question about large context APIs?
Torn read my mind.
Sorry, I don't really understand the question. Am I not understanding it?
With larger
If APIs
context,
yeah, go for it.
with APIs with larger context, do you think larger application idea testing could be more viable? I think what they're asking is, could you build larger applications now with larger context?
Larger applications being
So this is part of why I want to test Anthropic, actually, if we want to go back to that and connect it, because Anthropic has a unified input-output buffer. Basically, like you get 128K context or now more with Claude 2, but you get shared between those two. So if you put in 54,000 tokens, you can get out 50 something thousand, 70,000 tokens or whatever. I can't remember the number. And that was a large portion of the reason behind my testing, right? Was that I wanted to see if huge output windows would be hugely beneficial. And I will say, I think larger context output windows is useful, but it also forces you to contain the input a lot more carefully and keep it from over providing responses, right? For example, if I said, build this app, it's going to try its best, but it's not going to build an actually functional app because it gets lost along the way, per se. But that's because you're asking it to do a ton. I've addressed this in some ways in some of the like proof of concepts I've worked on, but I don't think we're ready to talk about those yet.
Okay.
Oh, aging will fix that as long as you have the input.
There's a little bit of a discernment issue with context too, because the machine has its context window, right? And everybody thinks that's all it can contextually understand. Turns out that's not exactly true. So there's you can build a seamless interface between it, and it holds context better, which is something I've innovated there. I've kind of put it on the team's list to look at and for people to play with, but I could run that for you guys at any time and let you take a look and explain how it works and what it's doing. And you'll see that it really doesn't matter, because if it holds the idea, the output window, input windows don't have to be big. It just needs to hold context, which is what? Understand. So as long as it can understand
Yeah.
everything continuously, it will be accurate. So I definitely have devised my own system for that.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's what the crux of this kind of engineering is distilling, quite often, isn't it? Distilling knowledge down from information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, looks like we're at our time limit, a little bit over, and I want to respect everyone's time. So I want to thank everybody for coming to the meeting. If nobody has anything else they'd like to add, I'd like to go ahead and close the meeting. All right.
Yeah. I'd also finally like to draw a tiny bit of attention to the Indie Hackers channel. If anyone here is building, like Mystic Marks, you talked about like little side projects you have, if you want to share them, it's a great place to do it. We love to see what you're building. Everyone does.
Very nice. But
Okay.
yeah, there's a bunch of them in there. I have a GPT-4 model in there called Unlimited Context GPT that has my code in it. That code is
Well, nice.
MIT. It's also on my GitHub, and you guys should also have it in somewhere in here. Somebody's got it. But I highly advise you guys play with it. It runs well in 3.5, 4. I designed the class code to actually run with any LLM. So there are examples below with an instruction set on the text document should you find it or be given it. That will tell you how to use it, giving you some optional pre-prompts to run that system. When you guys test it, you will simply follow the instructions, which is instantiate an idea. When you get to a coded system, you want to do what I call micro tuning, which is you'll do another guidance where you'll say expand it, do this, and guide it to where you say embellish this code system forward now and all modules needed. And you'll do a continue statement, and once you see the guiding code pick up the code output, you just go continue until your system's done.
Okay. So, yeah, awesome. Check out Indie Hackers. And next week we will be having this meeting, same time, same place, 10 a.m. CST. That's 11 a.m. Eastern for me. So do the math on that one. And yep, meet you back here this time next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.